It's just like some of those organizations overseas. They do something, and next thing you know, they had a press conference and talked about we're responsible. Yeah.
It's planned.
Do you think his family would be willing to talk about eliminating that statue at this point?
No.
No, I doubt it. That's their legacy.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see that. From what I understand, his son is nothing like him. I've heard people say very positive things about him, and I don't know the man. I never met him, and I just wouldn't vote for him because of his name, and that's probably wrong. You can't paint with a brush the family. You know, his father comes from a different era, did different things, but no way did we like him. You know, he was definitely. I remember something my father told me years ago. He said Frank Rizzo had arrested him somewhere downtown and threatened to beat his private parts out with his nightstick. That's the kind of guy you appoint a police commissioner and ultimately elect him a mayor? 2 terms. You're right, 2 terms.
And then he changed his party.
Huh?
And did he?
Oh,
Yeah,
no, that was after he got out of office as a Democrat.
Okay,
He ran because Wilson Good, was the person. You know,
And then he died.
yeah, he sat out a year, and Bill Green got elected, and then when Bill Green's term was over, he only ran for 1 term. Wilson Good ran, and of course Frank Rizzo wasn't going to have that, and he ran in the primary and got beat. And then the next election, he ran as a Republican, and which was very interesting, and then going into, did he run another time? And that's when he had the collapse in his office downtown. And that was that.
Rumored he was poisoned or something? Did you hear about a rumor that he was poisoned, James?
Well, that was when he was in office. This is after he had been in office. After he was, he lost that one. And people weren't buying that. So, because, nobody else could do it, and they didn't.
One of the biggest voters turnout.
Oh, yeah. We got our behinds to the polls. But of course, we got our behinds to the polls when he was on the ballot. And first of all, what was it, 1979? Or no, 1975. And or was it 71? 71 and 75. We got our butts to the polls in the primary. The thing was, we didn't believe that we could do it because Hardy Williams, if you remember, was a candidate. And they tried to say, oh, he's been sponsored by Rizzo. That was BS. And the very interesting thing to look at the news reports back then. The journalistic community outside of Philadelphia, they saw what Hardy Williams was doing, and they understood it. Because 40% of the Democratic Party was black. And in Philadelphia, you had a perfect situation. You had a Jewish person running, you had an Italian running, you had an Irishman running, and you had an African American running. And this was and those were the major ones. Then you had a minor Italian, a minor Irishman, and a minor Jewish person, and another person running. Not 2 blacks, okay? Not 2 African Americans, but multiple white candidates were running, and broken down into perfect ethnicities. The Italians at the time were 20% of the Democratic Party. What do you call it was 20%? The Irishmen. Jews were 16% of the party. Washington Post pointed it out. They said he actually should win if it breaks down the vote, down along the ethnicity line. But I remember one very large, and they'll remain nameless for this discussion, respectable black organization. While the organization couldn't come out for somebody, its leadership came out for Bill Green. And I was very angry about that as a young man. I was very angry about that. It wouldn't help any of the brothers and sisters whom I believe had been misled in any of their political endeavors. I was very, very angry with them because they wouldn't stick together and support this African American candidate who was perfectly qualified and should have been elected. And I stayed angry for several years about that, never forgot it. I said, here we got a perfect opportunity to take over this town, and I don't know whether it's in the water in this town or what, but people made up every excuse in the world. Oh, he's sponsored by Rizzo. He can't win. What do you mean he can't win? You're 40% of the Democratic Party. What do you mean you can't win? Well, that doesn't mean he'll win a general election. Who cares? The fact that you took and won a Democratic primary is significant progress. And that's what you do. And you do it one step at a time sometimes. Sometimes you can do 2 steps at a time. And had he won, he probably would have won. It might have been close, but he would have won. And one of the reasons why I voted for his son in the primary, although he made a faux pas before the election by saying what he said about getting rid of the police commissioner, I happened to sit down with him in Nutter's campaign headquarters when he was the mayor-elect back in '07. He's a good man. I sat down with him, we talked for about 2 hours. I even shared with him the best places to live in Philly, and that's where he bought his house. And he said to me when we were talking about stop and frisk, he said the police won't have it if they abuse it. He said because we're not going to violate citizens' rights. And that told me something about him. He was really concerned about being perceived, in actuality, violating citizen rights. And everybody wouldn't have been privy to that conversation. But there are other ways it's come out in his operations about the kind of person he is. And so that was a big mistake that I think that Tony made. But I still voted for him. But I said, well, I'm going to vote for him, but I'm going to have a sit down with him and talk to him about that. And my friend, she says, oh, he was lured into that by Milton Street. And we all know Milton Street in his history. I have to say, back in the day, I supported him. And the first couple times he ran. And then he did something which was of a personal nature that I did not like. And I said, well, if he'd do that to his political friends, what would he do to his enemies? And I said, I'll never vote for him again. And I never did. And anytime I saw his name on the polling place, he lost my division. So, and I even beat him with a Republican after that. But I take my politics very seriously.
Say, James, you got a question over here on
Sure.
Rizzo.
With Rizzo, did you hear anything about Rizzo got to the point where he was a little paranoid as to who gave him his food, if he's out, and who was serving his food, because they were trying to poison him?
That's what he thought?
Yeah, he got very paranoid.
Oh, okay.
Only certain ones, he would only take food from certain people.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know something, I think I heard that before too. I had forgotten about that.
Well, it goes around coming around.
Yeah, that's
He
true.
was the people.
You do enough people wrong,
Right.
somebody gonna get you some kind of way. If he was the right kind of person, treated people right,
He wouldn't have to worry.
he wouldn't have to worry about that.
So tell us, looking at what you're seeing now with Chester, and Chester having to have the teachers work for nothing with the impasse with the Republicans and the Democrats, how's that going to break out?
I have no idea. I just heard the other day that the teachers decided, I thought they just weren't going to get an increase. I didn't know they weren't going to get anything. Well, I say, you know what? They believe in what they're doing, I guess. Because most people I know would not work for nothing. And that's so anti-union.
But they're going to get paid when the budget comes through, I
Yeah,
take
when it
it.
comes through, if it comes through, I guess. But I guess at some point it will. The folks who decide those things will stop arguing and that sort of thing. It's funny. Folks who don't stand to be affected anyway play these games at the table, and because they're not suffering, they gonna get their money.
Now we got to get you to eat because this stuff is getting cold over here, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some.